This note has been prepared for the hearing on January the 3rd, 2025. Mr. Gurr versus the state of Wisconsin. I'm looking forward to the big day with excitement that only a free man can feel. I'm sure it will be a very memorable event in my life. These are the curious events that have transpired and led us up to this point. This document will be offered to the examiners and perhaps read as part of my opening statement. Earlier last year, I came into work on a Saturday morning early to run and lift weights. When I tried to log into the computer network to write a positive email to start my day, I found I was locked out of the computer system. I joked with my fellow staff in the nurses station about the recent scooter incident and said I smelled trouble. I tracked down El Jefe, who was the supervisor on duty at the time. I was informed by El Jefe and Big Red that I was placed on administrative leave for alleged misconduct and given a letter hand-signed by Blossom, aye, the way you like it. I joked with El Jefe about the scooter that I had ridden recently in the courtyard of the monastery and assumed I was getting an insubordinate investigation from Woodland Jr. Woodland Jr. was violently opposed to the idea of patients riding a scooter. "You need to stop giving these kids hope," was one of the last things that Woodland Jr. would ever say to me. I will never forget that. Woodland Jr. has been on a personal vendetta to get me out of the monastery ever since I reported the safety concerns of our unit to upper management. I respect Woodland Jr. and the rank he has, but when the safety and lives of children are on the line, I am obligated to act. Woodland Jr. is no longer the unit manager of the children's unit, and that is in the best interest of the state of Wisconsin, in my opinion. About a month later, I was called in the evening about 6:30 p.m. and informed by Call Me Snake that I was needed to come in for a meeting the next morning at 9 a.m. I have evidence of this on my cell phone call log. At that meeting, I was read a letter that was supposed to be read to me the day before by Lady Voldemort. I was informed of my long list of alleged infractions and given all of approximately 2 minutes to process that before the investigation began. During that investigation, I answered all questions truthfully and explained my situation quite well. The meeting took about 78 minutes in length. I was informed that recording the meeting was a serious work rule violation. I did not record it and offered to write consent for the state of Wisconsin to record my testimony. Call Me Snake told me that such activity was illegal. A few months later, I received a call from Lady Voldemort informing me that I needed to come in for a follow-up meeting. Again, she did not read me any letter of any kind or give me any information as to what the meeting was about. I have evidence of this. Once again, at the start of the meeting, I was informed of the results of the investigation. I told the investigators that if this was a termination meeting, I would like my legal counsel to be present at the meeting. They assured me it was not a termination meeting, and I answered their questions truthfully and cooperated with their investigation. This meeting was about 48 minutes in length, much shorter than the first meeting. On September 11th, 2024, I received a call while at the park exercising and repairing a sign. In that phone call, I was terminated on speakerphone in the presence of Big Red and Lady Voldemort. I asked for the meeting to be in person with my legal counsel present, and that request was denied. The reason for my termination was filming on monastery property without consent and posting material on personal social media. It was deemed so egregious that progressive discipline was skipped and I was terminated instantly. I was respectful, told management that I did not think the punishment fit the crime. I would appeal that decision and I would love to come into work at least to get my belongings. The next day, I came onto the monastery property to collect my things and ask questions regarding health insurance, pension, and other important information. The administration was an obvious shooter protocol, with all doors closed, locked, and with a heavy security presence. None of the questions that I asked were answered, even though I was completely civil. I was walked off the property by security, Master Chief, the Chief of Security, and Director Blossom, hey, the way you like it. I was carrying about 70 pounds worth of belongings, including a heavy dumbbell that I used for rehab on my injured forearm. When I stopped to set down the dumbbell to switch hands, aye, Blossom became confrontational. When I pointed out there was an unsecured lock on the perimeter fence, she became upset when I was only making an observation and being helpful. I filed the first 2 steps of the appeal process. They were rejected without any inquiry whatsoever. I started my final appeal and was assigned examiner Lady Justice and the great Ramses for my case. I was all set up to have my big day in court in Madison at the Capitol. I was very excited about that. Shortly after a few interactions with Lady Justice, this case was passed to Lord Justice and Attorney She-Hulk. Early on in the process of the appeal, I insisted to all parties that I wanted to pay for a court reporter. This was refused outright by examiner Lady Justice, and examiner Lord Justice told me that the process would be very costly and I was better served paying for a digital recording of the hearing. That seemed fair, and I agreed to pay for such a recording in an email. I insisted very early in the appeal that I wanted this hearing to be in a public place where I could have witnesses and the media. Attorney She-Hulk chose a maximum security prison for the place of the hearing, knowing full well there would be no witnesses and no media allowed. Quickly into the process, I was informed that the time for discoveries had already passed. Unfortunately, I was not able to get any information from the state or have any interrogatories. I still do not believe I received an email with the expiration date of the discovery process. That information may have been passed to my counsel, but it was not passed to me personally. However, I accepted the responsibility of that and did not file any complaints. I placed many public records requests to both Lady Voldemort and Mr. PR in the Public Records Department. In the months that have passed, I have received my personnel package from Lady Voldemort and 1 email from Mr. PR that was not very helpful. I have specifically asked several times for the email that was sent out to the work web claiming me to be a dangerous individual and a security threat. None of these requests were granted, even though I did so in a timely and an appropriate manner. I will never receive that email because it is a smoking gun for a defamation of character case. I made a long request for witnesses that, in my opinion, are very relevant to the case and make my case very strong. Those were objected to by the opposing counsel, Attorney She-Hulk. Most notable on this list are the doctors that were involved and my former supervisor, Woodland Jr. Doctors established credible testimony in the case, and Woodland Jr. is being protected from scrutiny by the state of Wisconsin due to his own allegations of misconduct. I called and talked to the director of the Wisconsin Resource Center to ask her about witnesses and media. As expected, she told me that would be impossible and no media or witnesses will be allowed in that building. She informed me that because I was a former state of Wisconsin employee, that I would have to go through metal detectors and other security protocols. She also reminded me not to bring any weapons. Walking into a maximum security prison to have a legal battle would be very intimidating for many people. The most important fact of all in this chain of events is this all began because of a sticker that I have given to hundreds of children. I have an internet website that is focused on bringing more kindness into the world. I put a copy of my sticker of a globe shaped like a heart on a calendar in the break room, and this all came to pass. It was the domino that tipped off this long string of curious events. Someone must have seen that sticker, reported my website to the management, and now the rest is history. All that remains to be seen now is if I ever will get my official recording in my possession that has these words on the public record. I really hope that comes to pass. And if it does, I will be satisfied. I have done my best, and that is all you can ask of a man. I would like to point out that I have proudly protected the children of the state of Wisconsin. It has been an honor. I protect those who cannot protect themselves and will never stop doing so.